My name is Tom Winch and this is my presentation on Unit 15 Physical Activity. We start off the presentation with principles of training. First we started with specificity, and this is being specific in essentials when planning the training program. Knowing what an individual wants to improve on can make the program easier. Progression. The progression would be a type of training that a client would complete. Progression is a slow and gradual increase in the amount of exercises and the effect going into the session. Overload. An overload in the program would be to the trainer and the client becoming into an agreement to allow the increase in difficulty of an exercise. Reversibility. If the client decides that they don't want to work out on the day, then reversibility would be need to occur. Loss of progression from not training, but the effects can be reversed when training starts again. Tedium. Tedium is also another word for boring or boredom. This is where the athlete becomes bored of training and doing the same runs and rests. So the trainer would have to make the plan as enjoyable and less tedium as possible so this doesn't occur, to keep the client interested. Individual needs. Individual differences mean the trainer should ensure that the program fits his or her client and not just off the internet. Everyone is different, therefore the trainer can make a program that fits their client perfectly to ensure maximum growth and loss of weight or whatever they have requested. Frequency. The frequency of exercise would determine how much the client wants to exercise and if they can put the hours in as well as getting a suitable amount of rest. Frequency is the amount of sessions in each week. The intensity would determine how much effect a client wants to put into the exercise, so how much work they want to put in. The harder they want to exercise, the higher the intensity weight. Time is how long it would take for the client to complete the session or the exercise, given it a certain amount. Type. The type of session is what the trainer is going to run. After the client has specified what they want, the trainer can determine what type of training is to use. The second part would be component fitness. Components of fitness. Strengths, adaptations of training. Strength is the reversibility, is the ability to carry out work against resistance. And then we have aerobic endurance. Aerobic endurance is the ability to transport and utilise oxygen. Aerobic endurance measures the lung capacity of the oxygen intake or perform an exercise. Some activities like the bleep test, Cooper run and the cross country are all good examples of aerobic endurance being used. Then we have muscular endurance. Muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle group to sustain repeated contractions against the resistance of an extended period. Flexibility is the ability to perform a certain movement in the joint. The joint flexibility can vary depending on the part of the body that's been used. Body composition is used to describe the percentages of fat, bone, water and muscle in humans. These are all from Wood 2020, which is Top End Sports. Mine is muscular endurance, which I got from livestrong.com. This would be to describe the health and safety considerations that are associated with exercise performance, programs and performance. During a session, there's many things that can go wrong. This could differ the equipment not working all the way to result in a bad injury, to To ensure the safety of everyone, many regulations will be put into place. During these times, there's been a safety rules put into place to try and stop the spread of COVID-19. Things like deep cleaning equipment and wearing masks while inside in or in a radius of a high amount of people to stop the spread has become the norm and therefore a rule. During a session like things like bad technique, breathing control and the wrong weight would be a type of risk. An example of this would be someone on the rowing machine not knowing what to do. If their back, technique or posture could result in a bad injury. Meanwhile, controlling breathing would be essential to getting oxygen to the muscles and therefore allowing for maximum control. If the weight isn't set right, they could end up also locking their knees while on this rowing machine, which would also result in an injury. To ensure that health and safety measures are followed, everyone would have to answer a Park U questionnaire. Questions that have been under some of these questions would be like, have any of you been under medication recently? Do you smoke? Do you have any joint or muscle or bone problems that could worsen with the effect of exercise? Completing the Park U questionnaire, this would allow the instructor to get an understanding of who they are working with and what would best suit them for their programme, and which would make them safe while doing so. Next, we are describing the importance of warm-up and cool-down sessions. The importance of a warm-up becomes greater as an individual gets older. This is due to the tightening up of the muscles for an average person, but every year group should have some kind of warm-up to reduce risk of injury. Warm-ups differ depending on the sport. An individual that was competing in a deadlift contest would warm up different to a footballer. Even though that their programs at the end would follow something different, they would all follow some sort of principle of raising the pulse, then a type of dynamic stretching. Then obviously depending on the sport, they would warm up to fit them. Footballers would have the ball at their feet, rugby players would have the ball in their hand, and obviously deadlift would start on a lower weight before competing to ensure that they're working their muscles and joints in the arm. A general warm-up would be followed. This is what we competed in for our circuit training the other week. I would do 5 minutes pulse raising. This could either be done on the treadmill, rowing machine, or on the hill climb machine. Then a 5 minutes of active weight activation. This could be done on the roller. Then I'll do 5 minutes mobility exercise with the use of bands, stretching out my calf, my glutes, my biceps and triceps. And then I finish off with static stretches. The main activity, there would be a cool down that would have to be completed after. During a cool down would include lowering the pulse. That can be done with a gentle walk or a jog, depending on the session. It's important to allow for a cool down because this allows the body to gradually recover the heart rate and blood pressure. Highly competitive athletes would use cool downs as it helps regulate blood flow. This would be the marathon runners would be a good example of this. After a session, a cool down can be a string of exercises. Start with a steady jog to lower the pulse, then complete stretches to remove lactic acid buildup. Also, after the cool down, ensure that lots of hydration fluids are being digested. Here are some stretches that can be used after this session. Kneeling quad stretch, the pigeon glute stretch, the PNF calf stretch, groin stretch, and cobra pose will all allow for less lactic acid buildup.